The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. When I first laid eyes upon this quote, I didn't fully grasp the gravity of its meaning. But now I realize just how much it resonates with a childhood memory of mine. You see, as the middle child of a Chinese-Indonesian family, I was surrounded by piles and piles of scientific picture books. Now, I only actually liked the dinosaur ones, but one book in particular caught my attention, even as a kid. The book's cover was a sea turtle being choked by a plastic bag. This image is, I'm sure, familiar to you all. But as a 5-year-old, you can imagine just how confused I was. There I was, still wearing that favorite dinosaur bib of mine, questioning, why does the turtle have a necklace? That question came back to me as I read Swan's powerful words. I realized that they both serve as a call to action in desperate need of answering. Hi, my name is Jacob Dirga. I'm a Year 11 student at SWA, and I'm here today to inform you that waste issues are a pressing problem today and in our tomorrow. And the single best way to address those issues starts with something I call waste literacy, which can be divided into two very simple components: the awareness and competency to solve waste-related issues. In other words, similar to how you need to understand a language before you can even start to read a book, we need to understand the severity of our waste problem before we can solve it. So let's start small then. This year, I started a club called Recyclo. Get it? Recycling and club. So I'm guessing you kind of know what we do then. If you don't, I might need to consider renaming. Recyclub obviously collects waste, specifically the non-degradable variants, such as your plastic bottles, your bottle caps, and your soda cans. But what's important is what comes after. Recyclub does its very best to follow its club motto, turning trash into profit. When we first started the collection of our school's waste, we frankly didn't have any high hopes. We were a new club in a small school. But even in a small community like SWA, being a new club is incredibly tough. Like any business out there, we had to start from scratch, without an audience or budget. So when we placed our very first bin, made out of recycled cardboard and magazines, we didn't expect much. Maybe a few bottles. Perhaps a stray soda can, if we were lucky. Honestly, I thought it would just sit there, unnoticed, invisible, like that 6th grade art project you did. If you can't recall, that's how invisible. But me and my friends couldn't have been farther away from the truth. Within 2 weeks, that's right, 2 weeks, the bin was filled to the absolute brim. If we waited even one more day, the contents could have come spilling over. And here's the kicker. This was just one bin in one small school with only 500 students. Now picture this. Multiply the amount you see with every single student, classroom, school, building, province, and country in the world. Within a day, I think we would accumulate a mountain of trash higher than the tallest skyscraper in Jakarta. And within a month, I'm guessing we would add to the 17,588 islands in Indonesia. By the small chance that you still aren't convinced, let's take it even further. Indonesia produces 20.93 million tons of food waste per year. And that's enough to fill in your favorite stadium where you watch Coldplay or Blackpink. That's right, I'm talking about GBK Stadium. But I'm not talking once. I'm not talking twice. I'm talking 100 times over. And it's not just scraps either, it's real food. Nearly 40% from our leftover rice, 25% from our meats, and even 20% from our baked goods. Before seeing this diagram, I would laugh at my parents when they said that 1 grain of rice makes all that difference. Now, I can't. And they say that over 23 million Indonesians cannot fulfill their dietary needs, equivalent to the entire population of Australia. And at this rate, Indonesia will have accumulated 550 million tons of food waste by 2050. An Everest of wasted food. Food waste that could have logically been fed to the millions of starving Indonesian children who go to bed every single night with an empty stomach. And you think our waste just disappears, does it? Well, of course not. As we all know, that waste lays in our landfills, discarded, decomposing, producing methane, a greenhouse gas 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide. This is how I see what we are facing. Waste is the middle point of that cobweb. It is the cornerstone that leads to so many other problems. That pile of rotting food or unused plastic outside your door isn't just waste anymore. It's fuel. It's fuel for the global catastrophe already threatening us. My friends, the way to break that cornerstone starts with waste literacy. And as I said before, it isn't just about knowing anymore. It's about becoming competent. For example, take a look at this person behind me, an old neighbor of mine who I call Auntie Nia. For a time in my life, me and my family would donate used milk cartons right across the street to her house. And like any of you here, we didn't think twice about it. Milk cartons were just another thing to get rid of. But to Auntie Nia, all she saw was potential. In 2009, she started a waste upcycling company called Popsicles, which takes the things that we don't think twice about, like your milk cartons and your bottle caps, and she turns them into things that are worth keeping. If that isn't competent, I don't know what is. At first sight, you'd think these come from a high-end boutique, right? Absolutely not. These weren't born from luxury. These were born from the remnants of our daily lives, our garbage. And while Auntie Nia manages undegradable waste, this man does the opposite. He fights a battle taking place in every single kitchen, marketplace, and farm. The battle of food waste and preservation. This is Deepak Rajmohan, an incredible entrepreneur, innovator, scientist, and the owner of Green Pods Labs. He realized that 40% of our food never gets to our table. That's nearly half of our food wasted before we can even taste it. And once he realized this, he could have ignored it, like a lot of us are doing right now. But instead, he decided to go back home and change the game. Through Green Pods Labs, he uses enzymes, an organic catalyst, to awaken the immune systems of plants and vegetables, allowing them to survive in an open environment. Zero electricity needed. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. I don't have to be a psychic. What do you mean, Jacob? I can't be like Nia, nor can I be like Deepak. And I haven't even seen a turtle with a necklace before. But the beauty in waste literacy is its scalability. It's in how every single small step contributes to that larger cause. Take me, for example. This year, I bought a composting bin, complete with bioactivator and molasses. The startup process was so simple. A toddler could have done it. And, most importantly, the entire thing cost less than a nice dinner out with your date. Or maybe not. I wouldn't know. So, or you can take my mom, who takes our leftover orange peels and turns them into ice cream. Creative, sustainable, delicious. Or you can take my sweet old grandma, who takes leftover chicken bones and turns them into rich broth. Or even my aunt, who takes all of her leftover waste and transports it to a local composting initiative. Did you notice anything? None of the things I mentioned were big. They weren't massive. They weren't humongous. The point is that waste literacy isn't about those grand gestures. It's about taking those first baby steps. So here's what you can do. Pick one thing. Think about it right now. Pick one thing that you think shouldn't be wasted, like plastic scraps, food scraps, or that leftover slice of pizza in the back of your fridge. And second, do something small. Buy a composting bin. Say no to plastic bags at supermarkets. Or you can eat that leftover slice of pizza in the back of your fridge. And finally, talk to people. Talk to your family, friends, coworkers. You don't have to do it alone. Maybe don't talk about that leftover slice of pizza in the back of your fridge. And while you're doing all that, I want you to remember what Mr. Swan said. There is no Superman. But that doesn't mean we all have to become Superman. Well, of course not. We don't need one person applying waste literacy perfectly. We need millions applying it imperfectly. So when you walk out those doors, I don't want you to see it as an overwhelming task. I want you to see it as an opportunity to take one small step, however small. Maybe, just maybe, that turtle doesn't have to wear a necklace. Thank you.